When she confused a millionaire with her ex, his incredible act changed her life forever. Rain tapped a rhythmic melody against the windows of Mabel's Eats, while inside, the aroma of coffee mingled with the scent of bacon and the memory of freshly baked pies lingered in the air. Yet that comforting warmth was smothered by Emily's rising anxiety. Just months after a bitter divorce that felt like a sledgehammer to her heart, the thought of losing her grandmother's beloved diner weighed heavier than the gray clouds outside. "It's just bills," she muttered, scrubbing a stubborn residue off the counter with a worn cloth. Her 6-year-old son, Jake, laughed in the corner, but his laughter echoed with the innocence of childhood, untouched by the grim realities of her world. This diner had been their sanctuary, a place of laughter where the chatter of regulars filled her with warmth. Now, it stood on shaky ground, and the once joyful atmosphere felt like a gathering storm. In walked David, impeccably dressed and exuding an air of sophistication that shimmered in the dim diner lights. As he slid into a booth with a subtle grace, Emily barely took notice, too consumed by the towering stack of unwashed dishes. But when he smiled, it was as if the sun broke through the clouds. The warmth of his gaze ignited a long-buried memory, her ex-husband's smirk, the one that once made her heart flutter. In an embarrassing fluster, she blurted his name instead of his. The diner fell silent, eyes widening as she felt her cheeks flame with humiliation. Then something shifted. David didn't flinch or sneer. Instead, he chuckled softly, disarming her pride. "No, not him. Just me, David." Despite her blunder, a spark of connection flickered between them. With each word exchanged, Emily found her heart strangely lightened. David revealed he was an entrepreneur, returning home to escape the chaos of city life. He was intrigued by her gritty resilience, the way she managed her struggles while raising Jake alone. It was refreshing to see a man who appreciated the strength it took to keep Mabel's Eats afloat. As the rainy days dragged on, David proposed an investment in her diner's revitalization. A lifeline dangled before her, but her heart quaked with doubt. What would her mother, Marlene, say? No handouts, she always insisted. Real success comes from hard work. But as Emily lay in bed at night, tossing and turning, the weight of unpaid bills crushed her spirit. Would accepting David's help mean losing her pride? Around town, murmurs rippled as plans for a fundraiser emerged. Community members rallied to support Mabel's Eats, igniting a sense of unity and purpose. Yet festering prejudices began peeling back, revealing deep-rooted divides, blue-collar struggles against polished elite. Emily's gut twisted with confusion. Should she grasp David's generous offer or stick to her gun, risking the very diner she cherished? The tension surged, and just when she thought balance was within reach, a family conflict erupted. Old wounds mustered into life, with Marlene questioning Emily's choices. In that charged atmosphere, a critical question churned in Emily's heart: was success measured by money or by love? And now, as tensions built to a boiling point, she confronted the community at a town meeting, prepared to lay it all out. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As silence enveloped the room, Emily stood at the precipice of vulnerability, words trembling on her lips. Would she risk everything for the chance at true transformation? A community held its breath. Eyes glued, as a moment of truth loomed. The tension in the room hung like thick fog. Emily felt every pair of eyes weighing on her, as if they were reading the storm brewing within her. The townsfolk had been her family for years, loyal, steadfast. Now, they were a wave of judgment, their whispers muted yet deafening. Taking a deep breath, Emily closed her eyes for just a moment. Memories flooded back, her grandmother bustling around the diner, her infectious laughter merging with the clinking of coffee cups and the sizzling of bacon. She was handing down more than recipes, she was handing down dreams. "This place means something," she finally shouted, the words bursting forth like an overpressured dam. "What are you willing to do to save it?" Came a voice from the back of the room, sharp and accusatory. Jack, a local contractor known for his cynicism. The utterance sliced through her moment of courage, and for a heartbeat, all hope flickered. "I'm willing to fight for it," she replied, the determination rising up from a deep well within her. "But I can't do it alone. I can't shoulder this burden by myself anymore." The confession fell heavy in the air, leaving whispers and raised eyebrows in its wake. David watched her, his expression unreadable. But there was something in his gaze, a mix of respect and support, that warmed her heart. She hoped it would translate to others, but no one moved. They continued to stare, their faces conflicted. I need help," she said, her voice softening. "But it has to be a partnership. I can't just take money. I need the community." Emily glanced at Jake, tugging at a loose thread on his shirt, his eyes wide with understanding. She blinked back tears, willing herself to stand tall. "We can bring back Mabel's eats together." A murmur rolled through the crowd, igniting pockets of optimism and skepticism. Someone shouted, "What about David? He's just here for the money." The word stung, like a slap in the face, and Emily felt her heart race. Panic washed over her. "No. That's not true," she said, urgency spilling from her lips. "David believes in this diner the way we all do. He's invested in me, in us." She could feel her cheeks heating again. "He sees potential where others see failure." The tension crackled in the meeting hall. Would they take her seriously? Would they believe in her vision? "It's about people," David finally spoke, his voice steady and clear, cutting through the tumult. "Emily's right. I want to reinvigorate this diner together, not just to make a profit, but to create a home for the community again. You all deserve that." As he spoke, Emily found herself studying the crowd. She saw sadness in Jack's eyes, the worry blending into his facade. He was not the only one, doubt lingered within many of them. Tentatively, a hand raised from the back of the room. It was Mary, a longtime patron who had run the local bakery. "If you want to save Mabel's eats, then we should come together. Let us host a bake sale." A ripple of agreement began to swell, voices joining in harmony as ideas bounced forward: potluck dinners, community gardening, even a talent show. Hope spread like wildfire, and Emily's heart soared. She turned to David, who nodded with a grin, finally matching her energy. But before the celebration could unfold, a dark shadow crept over her excitement. Marlene's voice, thick with skepticism, sliced through the chatter. "Emily, are you sure you want to tie yourself to an intervention like this? What if it fails? You might be giving up more than you think." The words echoed in the dimly lit room, seeping into her mind like a creeping poison. Self-doubt clawed at her. What if this was all a mistake? As uncertainty warped her initial resolve, Emily realized the moment had come. The truth broke through. "I can't change my past," she whispered, "but I can fight for our future." The community seemed to pulse with anticipation. Everyone awaited a decision, a revelation. Her heart pounded, and in that charged silence, she knew she had to confront not just her fears but the deeper motives driving her actions. What if every choice she had made up to now had been wrong? And as she faced the crowd, the weight of accountability rested heavily on her shoulders. Would she embrace David's offer or sever ties with her old beliefs? The answer loomed like the dark clouds outside, and Emily braced herself for the truth that lay ahead. Emily's pulse quickened. The room felt alive, everyone holding their breath, waiting for her next move. She had spent so long buried under expectations, both her own and those of others. But this was about more than just her dreams. It was about the diner, her community, and the legacy of laughter and joy her grandmother had built. "I'm here," she declared, her voice breaking through the silence with newfound strength. "I'm here because I believe in Mabel Eats. I believe in all of you." Her eyes swept across the gathering, searching for support buried beneath uncertainty. "I can't do this alone, I don't want to do it alone. But if we stand together, we can make it work." The energy shifted. Slowly, a few heads nodded, and murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Jack shifted uneasily, but his scowl softened just a touch. Emily caught a glimpse of a scab healing beneath skepticism, and it fueled her conviction. "Our diner has always been a gathering place," she continued, eager to keep the momentum alive. "Where friends met, families gathered, and dreams were kindled. Let us breathe life back into it. Let us roll up our sleeves and get to work." Before she knew it, she was outlining a series of events: weekly trivia nights, seasonal festivals showcasing local artisans, and even a community mural. Each suggestion fell like drops of rain on parched ground, reanimating the glimmers of hope in the crowd. David's presence beside her felt like an anchor, steady and reassuring. "I'll invest not just my money, but my time," he said, stepping forward. "I know how passionate Emily is about this place and this community. And believe me, I'll be right here with you every step of the way." Emily felt a surge of relief wash over her. At least for now, they had bought a moment to breathe. But then, a sudden hush fell again. Marlene, arms crossed tighter than before, stepped forward. "You're asking us to trust you, David," she said, her voice strained with doubt. "And you, Emily, you might not realize what's at stake. If this doesn't pan out." She couldn't finish the thought, but Emily could see the fear hanging in the air. Fears of failure, of losing what little they had, of losing Mabel Eats forever. "I know what's at stake," Emily replied, emotion swelling in her chest. "I've faced loss before, and I refuse to wallow in what could have been. I will fight to create what can be. We all need to believe in something again." Tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. Was she truly ready to embrace this path? Could she lead her community toward a brighter future, stitch by stitch? Another voice broke through her whirlwind of thoughts. "What if we met in committees?" Jake offered timidly, glancing around as if for approval. "Different groups could handle events, marketing, and even bring the community in on the whole process. If we really want this, we need everyone aboard." A buzz surged through the room. Excited whispers morphed into animated conversation, and nods transformed into enthusiastic agreement. The shadows cast by doubt were beginning to lift, illuminating fresh possibilities. Emily's heart swelled, caught in the uplifting tide of ideas. But just as the wave of optimism rolled in, an unexpected thought crept in: what if it was too late? What if the ghosts of failure revisited them all? Clenching her fists, she shook off the feeling. No more fear. Not now. She had to trust herself and her community. "Okay. Let us break into groups then," Emily said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "Everybody, let us brainstorm how we can save Mabel Eats. Let us set a date for our first event and figure out our next steps." The energy in the room was electric, the kind that reminded her of childhood birthday parties, of ice cream melting in the summer heat and laughter echoing across the grassy backyards. Just then, as if the universe sensed the shift, the door swung open, and in walked Mark, an unfamiliar face but undeniably familiar in presence. Eyes wide, anticipation crackling in the air as he surveyed the room. The crowd stilled, curious. "Did I just miss a party?" he asked, a broad grin lighting up his face, the kind that set Emily's heart racing in a way she couldn't comprehend. But the moment was fleeting. What did he want here? Emily's heart dropped again. Because what if he brought more complications than clarity? All eyes shifted from the planning session to Mark, and in that moment, uncertain excitement and dread coiled tightly within her. What was he doing here? And, even more crucially, what would this mean for their burgeoning hope? The truth felt woven into the very fabric of the moment, but could she afford to look closer? Emily's breath caught in her throat as she took in Mark's smile. It felt dissonant against the backdrop of all that was happening. A part of her yearned to bask in the warmth radiating from him, but another part was wary. This was about Mabel's eats, about the hope that was building like steam in a kettle. She needed to focus. "Mark," she began, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts in her mind. "This isn't a party." "I know," he interrupted with a wave of his hand, his eyes twinkling. "I heard through the grapevine that Mabel's eats was in trouble. I came to check it out." His tone was playful, but Emily could see the sincerity behind it. There was something about him that felt magnetic, like a force pulling the fractured pieces of her heart closer together again. How could she have misread that he was here for something serious? "Do you even know what's at stake?" Marlene stepped in, her hands firmly planted on her hips. "This isn't a joke, and it's not just about fixing the diner. It's people's lives we're talking about." "I do understand," Mark replied, an edge of seriousness breaking through his humor. "I've always believed in community support. I want to help." Emily studied him. His crisp shirt and tailored pants indicated someone who had never sloshed through grease-stained floors but potentially had the means to lend support. "What do you mean by help?" she probed, needing to ground everything in reality. "I could invest," he stated simply. "Not just financially, but by opening up your restaurant to new audiences. I've got ideas. Connections." A ripple of surprise coursed through the room. For a heartbeat, an electrifying possibility flickered in the air. Could they really bring the diner back to life with someone like Mark behind it? Invest? Marlene still appeared skeptical, her brows knitting together. "And how do we know it won't be another burden? That you won't change everything we ever loved about Mabel's?" Emily could feel the tension, heavy and thick. "We'll need to hear what you have in mind," she said, forcing herself to speak up, trying to hold the wavering balance of hope against skepticism. Mark grinned, unabashed. "How about I organize a charity event to raise funds for the diner? We can showcase the best of what Mabel's both is and can invite the whole town, create some buzz, and bring back the community spirit." The murmurs of interest spread, coaxing Emily into a hopeful state. All these suggestions could open doors. Yet, a nagging doubt bloomed in her mind. Could they trust someone who had wandered in just like that? "What's your angle?" she asked, her voice echoing with caution but also curiosity. "What do you get from putting in all this effort?" His eyes softened. "Maybe I'm just a guy who loves diners. Maybe I want to see people be happy over good food. Or maybe I'm trying to find my place in this town after losing someone special." His vulnerability cracked through some barriers. Emily felt a flicker of understanding. "Okay, I'm listening," she said cautiously. Around her, others were leaning in, their expressions mirroring a mix of skepticism and intrigue. Hope was creeping in too, but Emily wasn't ready to let go of her careful approach. "But let us be clear, if we're doing this, it has to be about Mabel's eats. It can't be about you." Mark nodded earnestly. "Absolutely. This is about honoring your grandmother and what she built." In that moment, Emily felt a connection not just to Mark, but to the very essence of what Mabel's eats represented. A vision forming, not just of financial rejuvenation, but of rekindling the community spark that had always made the diner special. But as they began to brainstorm and ideas flowed, Emily caught a glimpse of a figure lingering by the door, a frown etched across their face. It was Jack. His expression was clouded with confusion and frustration. "Don't forget who's really in control of this," he called out, breaking through the hopeful chatter. "What if Mark isn't what he seems?" Emily's heart ached. Doubt crept back in, threatening to steal the momentum they had built. Could this be the beginning of everything they hoped for, or a trap? And just like that, the air thickened again with uncertainty. Was Mark truly their knight in shining armor, or more of a storm brewing on the horizon? As eyes turned back to her, the weight of her decision hung heavy. Emily had to choose, and the future of Mabel's Eats depended on it. What was she willing to risk for something that felt so close yet still so far away? Emily's thoughts whirled as she gazed at her friends, their faces a tapestry of hope and apprehension. She wanted to believe Mark could be the lifeline Mabel's Eats so desperately needed, yet Jack's words echoed ominously in her mind. What if they were putting their trust in the wrong person? Mabel's was about family, she reminded herself, searching each face in the room. We can't let it become just another experiment for someone who doesn't understand that. Mark stepped forward, sensing the shift in the crowd. I get that, he said, his voice earnest. And I promise, I won't just throw money at it and walk away. I want to learn from you, to understand what makes Mabel's unique. Marlene crossed her arms, still skeptical. Learning is one thing, but can you stand the heat of this kitchen? He chuckled, trying to lighten the mood. I've handled tougher crowds than a family diner. I once tried to impress a date by cooking Italian. Let's just say it didn't go as planned. A slight laugh escaped some of the tension in the room. Emily felt the barrier start to dissolve, yet her heart clenched at the thought of what was at stake. Could she really let someone into Mabel's heart? Let's just say we're in a critical state, she replied firmly. If you're serious about this, then let's take a step forward. Jack's face darkened as he pushed away from the doorframe. You don't really think he's going to pour his heart into a place that's barely hanging on, do you? Enough, Jack. Emily shot back, her patience wearing thin. We're in trouble, and it's time to consider options. She turned back to Mark, who was watching her with an intensity that made her heart race, and not entirely from fear. Perfect, Mark said, his smile widening. Let's have an open meeting where we bring everyone in the community. I'll handle the logistics and make sure it's an event that showcases Mabel's history, its soul. I want everyone to feel the heart of this diner again. The crowd nodded slowly, and Emily's gaze caught Marlene's. There was an undercurrent of enthusiasm building. Hope was beginning to sprout like weeds after the rain. Fine, let's do this, Marlene conceded. But don't make promises you can't keep. As they began discussing potential dates and activities, Emily felt a flicker of excitement swell within her. She could imagine the doors opening, the shiny red stools filled again with laughter and chatter, the smell of fresh coffee wafting through the air like a reassuring blanket. But somewhere in her mind whispered a nagging doubt. Was this just a poorly rehearsed fairy tale? They were teetering on a razor's edge, and any wrong move could push them into deep waters. After the group's initial excitement had faded to planning, Emily stole a glance at Jack. He stood apart, arms crossed, his jaw set tight. She could feel his frustration even from afar, but she wasn't so sure he wasn't hiding his concern behind that tough exterior. Jack, she started, but he shook his head. Just focus on the event, okay? He replied, his voice low. Act like I want to see it thrive. But remember, my worries are still valid. His words lingered, and Emily felt a weight settle in her stomach. How could she reconcile the support of someone like Mark with Jack's mistrust? As they settled into a rhythm of brainstorming, Emily's thoughts kept racing back to Mabel. Would she approve of this partnership? Would she see Mark for who he truly was? Suddenly, someone burst through the door, breathless. It was Sophia, the town's historian. You won't believe what I just heard. She panted, eyes wide with urgency. The chatter died abruptly as everyone turned to her, curiosity piqued. What is it? Emily asked, her heart pounding with a mix of excitement and dread. All the paperwork for Mabel's Eats might have more to it than just financial woes. There are hidden assets that could change everything. Emily's breath hitched. What did that mean? The hope that had built within her now shifted, balancing precariously on the edge of uncertainty. What if they uncovered something that would either save them or bury them deeper in complications? As the group leaned in, the weight of possibility hung heavy. This revelation could unravel everything they thought they knew, and that scared Emily more than any of her previous worries. What kind of secrets were hiding in the walls of Mabel's eats? And could those secrets be the key to unlocking a new future or sealing their fate? As the murmurs filled the room, Emily felt her heart racing. What did Sophia mean by hidden assets? The thought pumped adrenaline through her veins. This wasn't just a passing rumor, this could be their way out, or it could send them spiraling down deeper. Hidden assets? Marlene repeated, disbelief etched on her face. What kind of assets are we talking about? Sophia took a deep breath, collecting herself. I overheard something at the archives. Mabel's eats might own the building outright. If that's true, it could be worth a lot more than we realized. I also caught a mention of some land documents that haven't been accessed in years. Emily exchanged glances with Jack, whose brow wrinkled in thought. So what you're saying is, we might have more to work with than just saving a diner? He asked, a note of skepticism lingering in his voice. Exactly. Sophia's excitement was contagious. If those assets are real, we could stabilize Mabel's financially and then some. It's not just about keeping the doors open, it might be about building something better. Mark stepped closer, his eyes sparkling with interest. If we can verify this, we should hold a community meeting to unveil this news. Everyone needs to know what Mabel's eats truly represents. If we bring hope to the table, we can rally the community together. Emily felt the weight of possibility shift. The thoughts swirled in her head, spinning like a merry-go-round. This could change everything. The notion of hidden assets added a layer of complexity. But what if we find out that the assets don't exist? We risk raising expectations and then crushing them. Jack nodded, running a hand over his hair in frustration. This feels like another gamble. We've already put ourselves at the mercy of Mark. Are we ready to do that again? Jack. Emily's voice softened as she saw the uncertainty etched on his face. We have to take this chance. Mabel's eats was built on dreams. Maybe this can be another one. The room fell silent, the air thick with tension. Emily could see hesitation in her friends, doubt whispering in the corners of their minds. Despite that, a small flicker of hope ignited within her. She remembered the laughter, the joy, the community gathered around Mabel's table, and she wanted to feel that magic again. Sophia cleared her throat, breaking the stillness. I have a way to get access to the building records. If we can piece this together, we'll know the truth. But we need to act fast. I can't promise they won't get picked up by someone else. Marlene leaned forward. Then we have to let everyone know. We can't keep this under wraps. Mark, do you really want to jump into this now? Mark's eyes glinted with determination. Absolutely. I'm in. The potential here is huge. Jack's expression didn't change. Emily sensed he was still grappling with everything. She reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. This could be our moment, Jack. I want to believe that, he replied, his voice low. But we need to know what we're dealing with first. Agreed, Emily chimed in, her heart racing with a mix of hope and fear. Sophia, how soon can you get those documents? I'll head to the archives first thing in the morning, Sophia said, her confidence shining. As the group began to organize, setting dates and platforms for the community meeting, Emily felt her pulse quicken. They were riding on a tidal wave of passion and potential. Every word exchanged, every plan laid was building a bridge toward something greater. But the nagging uncertainty hung in the air, a heavy fog threatening to engulf them. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were stepping into an unpredictable storm. What if Sophia's discovery turned their hopes into dust? And if it was all true, what kind of secrets would they unearth in Mabel's history? As they planned for the next day, a chilling thought crept into her mind: were they truly ready for whatever lay ahead? With the path ahead now more uncertain than ever, Emily felt a rush of adrenaline. Secrets awaited them, but so did the chance for renewal. What were those hidden assets really hiding, and would the truth set them free or keep them shackled? Morning light spilled through the kitchen window, casting a golden glow over the cluttered counters. Emily's heart raced as she prepared for the day ahead. There was something electric in the air. It buzzed with excitement and anxiety, an anticipation that felt almost surreal. She moved mechanically, grabbing coffee grounds and water, her mind replaying Sophia's words like a favorite song. Hidden assets. Hope. Change. Jack leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. He wore the kind of look that said he was still wrestling with his doubts. "You okay?" he asked, his voice soft but charged with concern. "Just thinking," Emily replied, turning her back to him as she poured the coffee. "About everything we might be uncovering. I want this to work." "I do too," he said, a hint of vulnerability slipping through. "But it feels risky." Emily sighed, feeling the weight of his worry seep into her bones. "I know it does. But if there's even a chance," she trailed off, her gaze drifting to the diner outside where the Mabel's Eats sign hung proudly, a symbol of dreams and community. She placed 2 mugs on the table. As they sipped their coffee in silence, the noise of the street grew louder outside. Familiar faces passed by, some pausing to wave. It was a reminder that their lives, their struggles, were woven into the fabric of the diner. "It's always been about more than just food," Jack said, breaking the silence. "It's about family, memories. If we can save that, it'll be worth it." Emily smiled at him, warmth spreading through her. "Exactly. We can make it better. We need the truth first, though. Our community meeting is tonight. People will want to know what's happening." Jack's voice was steadier now. "Yeah." Emily nodded, her mind racing with everything they could share. "If we can show everyone the potential, it might ignite even more support." By mid-morning, the weight of the day settled heavily on her shoulders. Sophia's determined expression from the night before echoed in her mind. The prospect of hidden assets felt like a double-edged sword. It could either heal or harm. As they prepared to meet Sophia at the archives, Emily's nerves frayed ever so slightly. What if they found nothing? Or worse, what if the truths were too tangled in secrets? When they arrived at the archives, the musty smell of old paper and ink enveloped them. There was an odd tranquility, as though time stood still in the dimly lit room. Sophia was already bustling through stacks of folders, her eyes locked onto her mission. "Did you find anything?" Jack asked, barely able to contain his enthusiasm. "Not yet, but I've narrowed it down," Sophia replied, her determination infectious. "I have a few leads. It's probably buried in here." They gathered around her, digging into the paper piles, hearts pounding with every moment. Emily felt hope swell within her like a tidal wave every time Sophia pulled out a document. Every faded photo from the past felt like a step towards freedom. But then, as Sophia lifted an aged envelope, everything slowed. The atmosphere shifted, heavy with unexpected gravity. This could be it," she whispered, her voice barely audible. A sense of clarity washed over Emily. They stood on the brink of something. The envelope could reveal pieces to their puzzle that had been long lost. The thrill was tinged with apprehension. What would they uncover? Before they opened it, a thought struck her with relentless force: what if the truth led to a different kind of heartbreak? Emily reached out and touched the envelope gently, feeling the fragile paper beneath her fingertips. What would it reveal? The prospect held her breath hostage. As they prepared to uncover the secrets hidden within, uncertainty swirled around them. Would they find hope, or would the explosion of truth shatter everything they believed in? The moment was nearly surreal. Unanswered questions danced like shadows in her mind. With stealing resolve, she knew they were about to cross a line from which they couldn't turn back. What would they discover inside that fragile envelope, and could they handle the weight of what lay ahead? Emily's breath caught in her throat as she and Jack exchanged glances, anticipation crackling in the air like static electricity. Sophia slowly opened the envelope, her nimble fingers trembling slightly. The fragile paper gave way to a stack of documents, yellowed by time yet bursting with potential. "All right, let us see what we've got," Sophia murmured, her voice trembling with excitement as she pulled out the first page. They huddled closer, the room dim and silent aside from the rustling of papers. As Sophia scanned the first document, her eyes widened. "This is an old property deed. Check this out." She turned the page towards them, and Emily leaned in, her heart pounding. The name on the deed was familiar. Mabel Eats had been established here generations ago. Emily's heart raced with excitement and dread. "What does it say?" she urged, scarcely able to keep her voice steady. "It seems there's a clause in the deed regarding an inheritance," Sophia explained, biting her lip as she continued to read. "If the business remains under family ownership and operational for a specific number of years, certain assets are protected from creditors." Jack's eyebrows shot up. "Are you saying they could be entitled to more than they thought? If Mabel was never sold?" Emily's voice trailed off as she wrapped her mind around the implications. Could their family legacy be safe after all? "But if it is sold or goes under, the assets could be lost," Jack remarked, the weight of reality dulling his initial spark of hope. Sophia shuffled through the papers, revealing more details. Pictures of the diner in its heyday, notes scribbled in Mabel's handwriting. This wasn't just a business, it was history. It was part of their community, and it cradled the dreams of everyone who walked through those doors. "Look at this." Sophia held up an old newspaper clipping, the headline bold and faded. "Mabel Eats was recognized as the best diner in town for 3 years. We can use this." As they pored over the documents, something deep within Emily stirred. All the sleepless nights, the uncertainty, the sweat and tears, they weren't in vain. They had a chance to reclaim more than just a diner, they were holding on to a legacy, a lifeline of connection to their community. Suddenly, fear gripped her. What if they were mistaken? What if the hidden truths led them down a darker road than they anticipated? The thought spun a tight knot in her stomach, and she pulled her hands away, taking a wary step back. "But if we're wrong?" Jack met her gaze, strong and steady. "We won't know unless we dig deeper. Even if it's painful, we need to find out the full story. Are we ready for that?" Emily's voice trembled, caught between hope and fear. "Together," Jack said firmly. His voice carried a promise. "We have each other. We'll figure this out. Whatever it takes." Just then, Sophia pointed to another document at the bottom of the pile. "One more thing." She flipped the page and froze. The room held its breath as they leaned closer, the unease creasing her brow. This could change everything," she whispered, her voice shaking slightly. "What is it?" Emily asked, desperation rising as the tension thickened around them. Sophia's eyes scanned the paper, wide and terrified, and she licked her lips nervously. "It's a list of investors, but one of them is a big name. Someone we never expected." Emily felt her pulse race as uncertainty blended with excitement. "Who?" Sophia swallowed hard, glancing back and forth between them as if weighing the impact of her revelation. "A millionaire who had ties to Mabel and whom I believe is connected to your ex." The room fell into an eerie silence, each of them grappling with the magnitude of what that could mean. Emily's thoughts raced. Were they about to reveal not just hidden assets, but personal connections that could tear their lives apart? The hidden envelope had opened up a world of possibilities and danger. Would they be able to face the repercussions of whatever lay ahead? The silence was thick, almost suffocating. Emily's mind was a whirlwind of confusion, memories, and fear. The weight of Sophia's words hung heavy in the air, a millionaire tied to Mabel's legacy, and more unsettlingly, her past. "What do you mean connected to my ex?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Sophia's expression turned grave. "Remember Daniel? He was always boasting about his grandfather's investments. I think this is him. He might have more influence than we ever realized." Jack looked between the two women like he was trying to gather fragments of a shattered picture. "So, this millionaire could help us or he could crush us?" Sophia nodded slowly. "It depends. If he's involved, well, he might have interests in stopping us." The thought spiraled around Emily's mind. Daniel, with his charm and ambition, always striving for the next big deal, she had loved that about him once. But now, the idea of him being involved in their family business felt like a betrayal. She took a deep breath, struggling to steady her racing heart. "What do we do? We need to find out more about him, not just his connection to Mabel, but what he stands to gain. If he is a part of any deal involving Mabel's, we could be in serious trouble," Jack replied, his tone heavy with concern. "Agreed," Sophia said, already flipping through the pile for more information. "If we can gather more details about him and the nature of his involvement, we'll be better prepared." As Jack and Sophia began to strategize, Emily's resolve hardened. This was about more than just a diner or a legacy. It was about their lives, their dreams, and an undeniable bond to a community that depended on Mabel's eats. But now, there was a specter hovering over them, one that could shatter everything. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they rummaged through the documents, emerging with new pieces of the puzzle. Emily's fingers brushed against an envelope marked with an official seal. With tentative movements, she opened it, revealing a sheaf of colored documents. "Guys, this looks like the investor's report." They huddled around as she revealed names. Her eyes flickered to one at the bottom, and her breath caught again. "Daniel Harrison, he's listed here," she said, disbelief clawing at her throat. Though the name sent a wave of anger through her, a deeper worry settled in. What does he want with Mabel's? Sophia hesitated. This isn't good. If he has financial ties, he might see this as a chance to capitalize. We're not just fighting for survival, we're potentially in the middle of a game far bigger than we anticipated. "I have to confront him," Emily declared, surprising even herself. "I need to know where he stands and if he plans to use this against us." Jack looked concerned, shadows lining his jaw. "Emily, are you sure? He has a way of manipulating people. You know that better than anyone." Emily felt the old pang of hurt yet steeled her resolve. "I need to face him, Jack. I won't let fear dictate this fight. This diner is everything. It's not just business, it's personal. I won't lose my family's legacy or our community's heart because of him." Sophia reached out, placing a hand on Emily's arm. "Okay, then we need a plan. We go together, and we're prepared for whatever he might throw at us." Emily nodded, determination sparking in her chest. Together, they would stand strong. No one would take that from her. As they turned back to the documents, deliberating their next move, Emily felt the walls press around her but also the warmth of her friend's support. The reality of the looming confrontation mixed with a strange sense of empowerment. Could they really win this fight? The path stretched before them, fraught with uncertainty but promising clarity. What would they uncover about Daniel's ties to their past and how would it shape their future? Just before they left to set their plan into motion, Emily stole one last glance at the stack of papers. A world they had barely touched was waiting just beyond their reach. But the danger of unearthing the truth flickered in the shadows, tantalizing. and threatening all at once. As they stepped into the hallway, Emily's heart raced with a mix of dread and anticipation. Would they find answers, or would the past ensnare them in its web? It was time to face the storm. The confrontation hung over Emily like a storm cloud, heavy, potent, and inevitable. Sitting in the small booth at a posh cafe, Emily's fingers fidgeted with the edges of the worn leather menu, a fragile anchor in a tempest of uncertainty. Jack and Sophia sat across from her, their faces etched with concern, but Emily felt resolute. Today was not just about confronting Daniel, it was about reclaiming her story not just for herself but for everyone connected to Mabel's Eats. When Daniel walked in, a slick smile plastered on his face, Emily's heart raced. He looked unchanged, his tailored suit sharp, eyes glimmering with the familiarity of a past that stung. As he settled into the booth with the ease of someone who belonged, Emily braced herself, determined not to show how much his presence rattled her. With every pulse in her heart, she reminded herself of everything at stake. "Emily," he greeted, voice smooth as honey. "It's been a while. I didn't expect to see you here." "Likewise," she replied, her voice steady, though it cost her. "We need to talk, Daniel." "Really? About what?" he quipped, leaning back, a smirk already forming. "The diner? Or have you come to terms with your past mistakes?" The jab cut deep, yet it shone a light on just how far she'd come. "It's about Mabel's Eats, not just the restaurant but everything it symbolizes for the community." His brow arched, and the smirk faded only momentarily. "Is that right? I thought you'd be grateful to let someone more capable take over." "That's precisely why I'm here." Emily's tone sharpened. "I know about your connections to the diner and the potential plans you've been weaving behind the scenes. I need to know why." Daniel rolled his eyes, although there was a flicker of unease. "Emily, please. You're missing the bigger picture. This isn't just about nostalgia. It's a business." "Exactly." Emily seized her opening, determination coursing through her veins. "This diner is more than just business. It was my grandmother's dream, it's a connection to generations. I'll fight to keep it from becoming a casualty of profit and loss. If your intent involves taking it for yourself, I won't let that happen." "Fight, huh?" Daniel laughed, but it lacked its usual confidence. "You think you can still make a dent? For a diner that's on the brink, you're shouting at the wind." "Maybe," Emily replied, her heart thundering in her chest. "But we're gathering our strength. Just yesterday, we started uncovering hidden assets that could change the game entirely." Daniel's smile faded, realization flickered in his eyes. "You don't understand what you're playing with. If someone like me gets involved, this town, this diner will transform into something entirely different. You'll lose it." "Not if I have a say about it," Emily shot back, her memo of anger allowing her to stand firmly. "And the community is ready to stand with me. We're not backing down." He leaned closer, his voice dropping a notch. "You're playing a dangerous game. I can crush those dreams faster than you can say Mabel's Eats. You think people care about a diner in trouble when I'm offering them something better?" "Better?" Emily scoffed. "What you're offering is a shallow convenience. It's the heart and love behind a meal that makes a special something you would never understand." Just then, Jack leaned forward, his voice firm but cautious. "Daniel, if you're truly invested in this town, why not work with us? You could help revitalize Mabel's alongside the community rather than against it." "I don't do charity," Daniel retorted with a dismissive wave. "And neither should you. This is the real world, folks. If you want to survive, you have to adapt or get left behind." "But we're not just numbers on a ledger," Sophia added, her passion bubbling to the surface. "We have stories, connections. Influence doesn't have to mean destroying what is precious. It could mean creating something sustainable together." Daniel snorted, shaking his head. You're all deluded. Emily's resolve intensified, and she felt the warmth of support from Jack and Sophia surge through her. You'll never understand our fight. But we will succeed, not just for ourselves but for everyone who has loved being part of Mabel's family. In that moment, Daniel's mask slipped, a fleeting glimpse of fear crossed his features. I will remember this conversation, he said softly, but the edge lingered in his voice. You don't get to intimidate me anymore, Daniel. Not now, not ever. The words felt liberating, almost like a final declaration. The silence that followed crackled with an unresolved tension, a societal clash looming on the horizon between Emily's newfound strength and Daniel's deceptive charm. Their hearts raced, Emily's thoughts swirled with hope and the daunting prospects ahead. As they left the cafe, Emily felt a sense of oblivion dissolve. They had faced the storm head-on, and while the darkness still loomed, the storm would not define them. They had discovered allies in one another, and together, their charge forward could breathe life into Mabel's Eats, not just as a diner but as a nexus of community and love. Tonight, they would share the news at the community meeting and put everything on the line. The path was filled with uncertainty, but together, they would forge ahead. And with that determination sweeping through her heart, Emily smiled and tightened her grip on Jack and Sophia's hands. The world ahead felt daunting, yet the connection surrounding her shone brighter than the storm could ever dim. Now they weren't just fighting, they were carving out a future, one she was ready to face, one she was determined to protect. Tonight, they would lay everything bare. And somehow, that felt remarkably right. As the meeting began, Emily stood before the crowd of familiar faces, ready to unveil everything that had transpired. Every moment of fear, hope, and newfound courage surged through her veins. With every word, she would reclaim the heart of Mabel's Eats. Together they would rise, transforming challenges into triumph. And as she opened her mouth to speak, she knew this was only the beginning. Just like that, the tide had shifted. Was it too late for Daniel? Only time would tell, but one thing was for sure, the battle for Mabel's Eats had only just begun. If you felt the magnitude of Emily's journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Drop a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below your thoughts on this incredible transformation. And for real, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey unfold. Let us rally behind Emily and the magic of Mabel's Eats.